This is a question that I want to know. Have you ever worked with individuals that has a more prominent career than you? And what space have y'all worked in? How many individuals have you worked with that's probably successful on TV or that's being talked about through social media? Have you ever worked with those type of individuals?
Yes. So I probably can't give too much of a number because there's a lot of confidentiality. However, I can give an idea of like some of the jobs they were doing, some of the stuff they were doing. I can give an idea of like, so I would say most of the clients, especially in the C-suite, are jobs that are more prominent than mine. Because like I'm just an executive coach, but they're the ones running an entire company, you know. And so the more prominent ones, I mean, if you consider a professional athlete also that way, there'll probably be more than the two. But the clients I've worked with, it's got to be at least over a dozen because like I'm very low numbered. I only take a certain number of clients a year in a long term that I want, and so it's five. Five is my maximum at that point. And I'll stop at that point. And then I actually started doing this. I moved into executive coaching right when COVID started, which is probably the worst time to start that. Because I'm strictly in person. I want to only do in person coaching. I took a client during COVID that wasn't in person just to help keep money flowing, but that's always been my stick. Is I'm all about presence. Presence is super important to me. It's one of the key factors of my coaching, and so to really show that, I require in person sessions. And so through COVID, I didn't really have a lot of business, and then I started once about 2 years after COVID started picking up. That's when I started learning more about the business again. That's when I started picking up more clients.
Speaking of COVID, this round of time all this started for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and my friends, we would and by the way, I got a friend from the state of Louisiana too. Actually, I grew up across the street. My best friend, they from the city called Hammond, Louisiana. And man, we tight friends. One of them, they'll probably end up calling in a minute or whatever. But back to what I was saying. All this right here started around COVID. Cause like one day we was just sitting outside. This one around the time when COVID hit, when stores were shutting down, shortage on toilet paper. It was hard to get hand sanitizer, things like that. And so we was like, man, let's make a movie. So I think a while back when we had a meeting before we got to this point, I was speaking on the movies and stuff. So before we got to the podcast, it was underground movies. So we would sit down and just come up with some ideas. Like I ain't get laid off, but they had to put me on hold because they had to make a shortage because of the COVID was spreading and they didn't want to have too many employees in the workforce sick or whatever. So I was one of the guys that they had to put on the sideline on the bench. So we was like, man, let's make a movie. We didn't know what we were doing. We were just bored. Everything was closed down. We ain't had nothing to do, so we were trying to get active, have our mind active instead of just sitting around and brain fart or whatever. So we based everything around COVID. So once we seen how funny it was and our first one, because it's called The Bottom. That's the neighborhood I'm from. Neighborhood called The Bottom. In 10th Street area. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but okay. So anyways, we would come with some ideas. You be this person right here. I'd be this person right here. And we'll have like younger guys too being a part of it or whatever. And it's like our first underground movie that we put together, people liked it. So boom, we started making another one. Every day we would get up, we'll make another movie. So I'll direct them. But to me, what it stood out the most, other people were funnier than me. And I was cool. I was cool on people being way more funnier than me. I was cool with it because I'm the one that's finna put it together. I was cool with people having better ideas than me. Because guess what? Once everybody's ideas tie in with each other, it's gonna be better. Instead of, okay, Chris, do this right here. Chris, do this right here. But once everybody put their ideas in the pot, now we sit back and look at it and we enjoy it. So now, whenever we get bored, when all the friends come together, we'll put one of our underground movies in, and we'll sit down and we'll laugh at it and stuff. So, but back to what you were saying around the COVID time and stuff. Now, one thing that stuck with me is you say you have a minimum of people that you deal with. So those people that you deal with must be a work in progress for you to have like minimum. 'Cause if to me, if it's short like that, um, is it do they take up a lot of time dealing with them for you to have a shortage, or do it sometimes like wear down on you for you to okay, I'm gonna take a break. This stuff right here can get kind of exhausting. So like, what's the reason behind you having a shortage on the people that your clients,
Yeah.
your clients?
So the reason is because I'm so I value presence so much.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if I start picking up too many people, I'm gonna start forgetting whose details are with who. I'm gonna start like not paying attention to some things better than that, and I don't want to ever get into a position where I have to question who am I talking to at this moment. And
Mm-hmm.
so important to me that I know exactly if when someone sits in a session with me, I want to remember everything that we talked about before. And so I know that if I had like 12 clients, it's going to be a lot harder to do that. And I'm going to put myself in a position to where I'm just like, all right, let's remind me what we did last week. I don't want to ever have to say that to someone.
So you give your time breaks in between the clients that you ain't dealing with at the time. So like, and and the breaks that you give yourself, what like do you pick up new ideas for you to share with the people when you're not dealing with them, or you just all right, this is my break right here when I'm
Yeah,
dealing with my
I'm
clients.
still learning. And I'm always learning new things to help out. Like an example, I just learned something new this morning about willpower. And most people have believed that willpower was minimal. Like you have a certain amount of willpower a day to spend.
Mm,
But the studies show otherwise. It's like it's people who believe that, yes. But if people believe they have infinite willpower, they just have it.
yeah.
And so it all depends on how much you believe in that regard. And they ran tests based on that because originally the test was if one group is doing a bunch of difficult tasks, how do they perform that versus a group that drank like a Coke that got some caffeine to help push their willpower a little
Ah,
bar.
gotcha.
And like, okay, those people with the Coke did better. But then the test was like, well, let's try this. Let's have regular group, let's have Coke group, and let's have a group that thinks that they're drinking a Coke. And that worked the same exact way. People who thought they were drinking a Coke, who didn't actually get any caffeine in it, did the same as the ones who did the Coke. And so it became the belief aspect. It was the willpower was I believe I have more willpower. I believe I can do this task more, and so I'm going to do better at it. And it just happened.
So like when you take your breaks, I'm big on the break thing because I like to do some reading, and in the book I read in a paragraph it said you have to give yourself a break sometime, whatever. So when you take a break, do you still have the willpower? Okay, I will do this next time. Or sometimes you just feel like, man, if I take a break, I ain't gonna really do it no more. So do your willpower build up each time you take a break? You
I,
ready to go?
I would say yeah, because that's always been my interest has been. And that's something I learned too about a lot of people is like when you want to have the life you want, you build that first. You don't wait for things to work out and then build it. You build it first.
Yeah.
And so the things was like, okay, I want to work these days. I take Wednesdays off. I don't work Wednesdays, Saturdays, or Sundays. And that was the start of my coaching selection. I was like, I'm going to start where that's my schedule. Instead of working to get there, instead of working every day until I can make that work, I'm going to start it here. And I did that. And then I also do the same thing with like my vacation time. In July and December, I take off. I don't work. And that's going to be maintained that way. And I don't ever feel like I'm done. Like I feel like that break, that rest time really recharges me up because I get to think in the entire time I'm relaxing. And so by the time I'm ready to see these people again, I was like, oh yeah, I've got all these cool new ideas to go over.
Okay. So yeah, because sometimes when I be into stuff, especially like this podcasting, 'cause I got different directions of content that I do. But podcast is my mantra. This is something I love to do. So me actually have you on my show or whatever, that's actually fun to me because I'm actually sitting down doing it with somebody and somebody speaking their perspective on what they love to do. Cause when I be sitting here doing it on my own, it's fun, but it's even more fun when you actually got somebody
Yeah.
that's been a part of in that moment and stuff. So that's kind of alluding to, you know what I'm saying, what you saying about the willpower, the breaks that you take. Cause I do it all out through the year. When I take a break, I'm taking a break. Um, but I'm still coming up with ideas. I'm doing some networking. And that's how I come about with me being here. And Miss Michelle introduced me to the events and stuff. So when I take little breaks, I actually take a break to go do some networking and to find different little avenues that I can create for myself as well. So the willpower thing, I got a different different way of using my willpower. I might sit back and just look at an interview of one of my favorite artists, and because I take a lot from my favorite artists. All right, I like how he talk. He don't say too much, or he don't try to use big words to make his interview sound good. He articulate the answer because of the question that's been given to him. Or I might go look at this artist right here, and okay, I like how he breaking it down, giving the person that's asking him a question a chance to understand the answer that he given to the question. So like when I take my breaks or whatever, I still doing research, but when I take a break, I take a break. Man, I take a break.
And that's all better for it. Because like we're all different in that regard. And one of the best parts about that is like what works for you is going to be the best thing. Don't let anyone convince you that you're doing it wrong. Like the David Goggins way of doing it, I tell people this all the time. When I help them build a routine, it's like David Goggins is telling you what his routine was and what works for him. It's not going to work for you every time. It's not going to work for a lot of people. You've got to find the routine that you work with really well. Like Leonardo da Vinci, his life schedule was he slept for maybe like I think it was like 30 to 45 minutes at a time. Did stuff for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Slept for 30. He did that all throughout the day. Like, can you imagine like not actually sleeping 8 hours, just like sleep 30 minutes, sleep 30, and just do that with 2 hours in between each time? Like most people would like lose their minds doing that. That worked for him though. That's exactly what he needed to do.
That's what kept the wheels rolling on his train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody got a different way of creating and making things work for themselves. So yeah, I totally get that.